Hey, I'm NichBoy and welcome to Pocket for Thursday, the 28th of January. Today on the show, Angry Birds movie, E3 is falling apart, and toys to life. They're like boys to men, but they cost $12 each. Alright, here's what's been making headlines. Halo 5 Guardians has received its first patch for 2016. Among the updates are a couple of new maps, plenty of tweaks to multiplayer settings and the UI, some bug fixes, and 50 new rec items for Warzone, including, and Pete assures me this is actually exciting, the battle rifle from Halo 2. The legendary drop performs exactly the same as the Halo 5 battle rifle, but has the classic skin. EVO, the world's largest fighting game tournament, has dropped Street Fighter 4. The event organizers released the list of games which will be featured during this year's tournament, which will take place in Las Vegas from the 14th to the 16th of July. Among the selected games are Super Smash Bros. Melee and Wii U, Pokken Tournament, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Killer Instinct, and the upcoming Street Fighter V, which will clearly be taking the place of its predecessor. Street Fighter IV has been the headline game of the EVO tournament since 2009. A new trailer for the Angry Birds movie has dropped. Honestly, I'd forgotten this was even a thing. The film looks like a dark, gritty origin story about how one man learned to overcome his fear and eventually harness it in order to duel with Liam Neeson on an ice plateau. Or maybe that was Batman. The film looks like a shiny 3D animated origin story about how colorful birds and universally green pigs grew to loathe each other.
The whole world is in danger, and it's up to us to stop them.
I'm joined now by Lynn to discuss our last news story. Welcome. EA has announced major changes to their E3 presence for 2016, opting to abandon the show floor in favor of their own event, EA Play. The 3-day event will commence on the 12th of June and will be open to the public. Lynn, you went to E3 last year.
I did.
You've been to multiple ones?
No, I've only been to the one.
Right, okay.
But it was a pretty good one to go to.
It was a pretty big one. What was EA's presence like there?
EA, I felt like had one of the best booths out of the entire place last year. Like you basically walked in, there are massive 180-degree screens showing their trailers. They had a Star Wars speeder bike in the middle that people could take photos with.
Cool.
And they had Battlefront stations.
Yeah.
And it was just huge. It was mesmerizing, and it was awesome to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting you to be this sort of up on EA. So if they're going to take that and now move it, I believe, across the street, do you feel like there's going to be this giant hole there?
Yes, well, if E3 doesn't get anyone else to jump in and maybe make a bigger booth or something, maybe Bethesda could have a bigger booth this year. but it was a huge area that they covered in one of the halls. So you have Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo in a separate hall, and then you have everyone else in that main hall, and EA had a massive section of it.
It's interesting because I feel like for years people have been going, is this the year that E3 is not going to be E3 as we kind of know it? And it's sort of changed itself over the course of the last 10 years, and it did that. Remember it had that year where everything was split off?
Yeah.
And it was all in separate locations.
I think it was in Santa Monica.
Yeah,
one year,
yeah.
And it was like
everyone was
separate.
just running around to different rooms to see games and stuff, and then they went, no, we're going back to the big thing. And now this is happening. I feel like to me, it's a bit of a weird move because I think that the power of E3 is that all these places, all these companies and stuff are in the same place showing off their thing. It is an event like that. And if EA want to take their thing out and put it across the street, it's open to the public, but I feel like having this thing running by themselves for 3 days, it's kind of like that Nintendo move where you go, the Nintendo Directs work for Nintendo because they're speaking to a core Nintendo audience. I don't know if EA has a core audience. I think there are people who like EA games, but they're not necessarily EA fans.
I mean, I think it's interesting to think whether they want to move away from the E3 control system.
Yeah.
And whether they have bigger games coming out this year or more IPs that they want to push in their own event.
And they just want a bunch of time to
And
do
I think
that.
E3 is always dependent on the type of games released that year.
Yeah,
and
totally.
The type of consoles, you can have good years and bad years.
Yep.
And maybe EA has a lot on their slate this year that they've gone, you know what, it's really good for us to have our own main events.
Yeah.
And I also think it's blurring the lines between fans and media now. So when I was at E3, you met people on the show floor and at the press conferences, and you start having conversations and you ask, so where are you from? How did you get to E3? And a lot of people who go to E3 these days have their 50,000 followers on Twitter or their own YouTube channel.
Yeah, and they're just carrying like a camera.
Yeah, exactly. They're just carrying a GoPro around or shooting stuff on their mobile phones. Traditionally, you would not say they were games media, but I think the lines are totally blurring nowadays.
Yeah.
And the companies are seeing that the fans are actually the media.
Yeah.
They are the gatekeepers. They are the people who will disseminate the games and their content to the public.
Yeah.
Because I think the public almost trusts the fans' opinions more than the media's opinions.
Well, it will. I mean, I think that's a very valid point, and that's probably something that they are thinking of. I worry a bit if it turns into something that other companies start doing, and it's not that I have any sort of like huge attachment to E3, but I feel like if everyone starts splintering off and doing their own thing, I don't know if we can support that many independent expos, I guess. Like we've already got, and speaking about the rise of like fans as media, you look at something like RTX that happened this last weekend and Penny Arcade and that sort of thing. You've got these fan expos moving up as well that are considered kind of as important as E3. That having so many separate events can be a bit of saturation or something. And I do wonder what E3 is going to fill that hole with. That EA hole, because they do put out a huge amount of
and I think, this is something that we tried to deal with in our E3 episode last year as well, is that kind of relationship between the media and the companies and also the fans and the media.
Yeah.
And as the official media, we go to those events so we can interview the devs, we can bring long form stories back to our audience, whereas if you're going to these events as just a fan, you may not have the same level of access that we do, or the same amount of time to talk to devs, in terms of long form interviews and try and get even behind the scenes access a little bit or more hands on. So it's going to be really interesting, to see where these companies go. Is it really splitting off from E3 if they're just across the road?
Yeah, it might just be you just need to go across the road for that. Yeah, it will be really interesting to see what happens and if everyone is willing to cross the street, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, the sun. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to go outside. That's it for the news. Moving on now to Thing of the Day. Pete's freaking out because I peaked. Thing of the Day. YouTuber Jared Dines has uploaded a face-melting metal cover of The Legend of Zelda's Song of Storms. It starts off strong, and it just gets better. Of the day. All right, now it's talk through time where you suggest a topic and us are going to talk through it. Today's topic comes in from Storm Server, and Storm, I am paraphrasing, and by that I mean I've completely rewritten your question. For the talk through, can you chat about the rise of toys to life figurines, specifically on how they affect gamers' impulse to purchase them? What do you think of the idea of buying them as just toys as opposed to part of the game? Now, to be clear, for those of you who don't know Toys to Life, we're talking about Skylanders.
Skylanders, Lego Dimensions, Disney Infinity.
And Amiibos.
And Amiibos, yeah.
Yes.
So basically collectible toys that you can buy with the game.
Yeah, and so Skylanders was kind of the first big blowout popular one. And you know a bit about this because you've covered this for Spawn.
Exactly. Well, because I make a kids show,
yeah.
and kids are all about, these toys, and they're almost marketed to that aspect of society,
Kids
right?
are so stupid, yeah.
They just love the toys.
So you are actually looking at a bunch of games that have this stuff in it. What's your general opinion on, I'm going to say like the business model of what this entails?
Look, I think, it's easy to criticize the business model.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially buying toys to let you play through a game.
Yeah, they're like microtransactions you can hold.
Exactly. But is it necessarily any different to other toy merchandise models?
Like actual Lego or something,
exactly.
where you
Like
need
Lego
to buy all the
or,
little packs. And
I remember as a kid, I used to have Matchbox cars,
Yeah.
and you used to have to buy packs and packs of them to complete your set,
Yeah.
or something. And I think that's how toy companies work, because they get you in on the first basic pack,
Yeah.
and then suddenly your parents are paying hundreds of dollars,
Totally.
so you can be happy
Yeah.
as a child, right?
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. And I feel like, I mean, I think I'm kind of in the same camp as you. I don't necessarily have a giant problem with it. I think that there are better implementations that some companies use. Like, I feel like particularly the Lego stuff is a bit over the top.
So let's not forget how much these packs, cost,
Yeah.
right? So the basic packs cost between $70 to $100.
Yeah, just getting the game and like a toy or two involved.
And Lego is actually $170 for the base pack,
So expensive
right?
for that
With
one,
with
yeah.
the portal and everything. And if you want everything,
Mm-hmm.
Skylanders would cost you $668. Disney Infinity would cost you $794. And Lego Dimensions, if you want everything, all the figurines, would cost $1,303.
See, that is actually where I just have a bit of a problem because it's not worth that. Like, it's actually not worth that amount of money. I can't believe I'm saying that. I almost think that Lego is probably the most worth it just because you can break all those things apart and put it with your Millennium Falcon and all the other sets that you have with your Lego stuff. But that is such an investment.
But the issue with that is, if you don't buy the full set, sometimes you can't access the full game.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
if you pay, say for example, the game is worth maybe $90.
Yeah.
And you need to, spend another $1,000 to access that, 100% of that $90 game.
Yeah.
I don't think that really makes sense.
No, and you really want to hope that everything is backwards compatible. I know that the Disney Infinity 2.0 set is not forward or backwards compatible, so it's kind of like you buy the base game and you buy those toys, but it's only available for that.
Yeah, and if you upgrade, it's like a whole new set of costs.
Yeah, exactly. And ideally, in that sort of scenario, you want to think that you bought this thing and that ultimately, if I want to play as Captain America in Disney Infinity 7, I can just drop my 2.0 Captain America guy on there and suddenly I'm that character running around in that world or something.
Yeah, and I think Skylanders does it really well. I think most of their toys are backwards compatible.
Sort of crossover, yeah.
Yeah, and Lego Dimensions is really the first time Lego has done this, so
Yeah.
it's going to be really interesting moving forward how they deal with the backwards compatibility side of things.
But Lego Dimensions is backwards compatible with actual Lego.
Yes, with analog Lego.
The little knobs will totally click in the same.
Gamers are collectors.
Yeah.
We love toys, so if we see a game with a set of toys, it's like Christmas.
Yeah, it's like a bonus.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that it has transitioned from, I guess you've got kids who play this stuff and adults who play the games as well who like the games, but mainly aimed at kids. But then there's this subset of the community that just buy the toys. So particularly Amiibos and the Disney Infinity ones, from my perspective, are sort of the best looking ones. And like those Amiibos, they are kind of what gamers have wanted for 30 years. Like great statues of characters that you love. And you go, I don't care about the game. Like I know a few people who don't have any of those games, they just buy those statues.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see, how much money they're making from adults who are buying the figurines just to put on their shelves, and from the actual kids who are actually buying them to play through the game. So it'd be really interesting to see how much adults actually spend on the toys compared to the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess at the end of the day, you just kind of need to do your research to make sure that what you're buying, it works for you in the way that you want it to work. If you want to play it with the game, does it work with the games that you're playing? If you just want it on your shelf, it's probably fine.
Yeah, and parents, don't listen to your kids. Do your research.
Do not let them near the Lego aisle. All right, that's it for the talk through. Do you guys collect any of these Toys to Life figurines? Are you an Amiibo kid or any of this Lego stuff? Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, let us know what you would like us to talk through tomorrow, and stay on the internet because there you can check out Good Game on Facebook, YouTube, and iView. Want to meet fellow Pocketeers? Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and Steam group. You can follow Good Game on Twitter at GoodGameTV, follow Pocket at NichBoy, at Pierre, at GGEditMonkey. She's at LJology. There are links to everything I just said in the description below. Today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Shannon Hamilton. Thank you very much, Shannon. Have you made a thing like Shannon did? Send it in. Until tomorrow, NichBoy out.
Lindsay out.